with our special guest, Miss Farley. Join us as we come back and have a real deep discussion. We'll be right back. Hey guys, we are back, and today is the 26th, and we have a very special guest with us, Miss Farley. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
So let's jump right into it. I know there's an election to happen another day, right? We're not going to go
Just
into
a
the
little
election.
thing.
Yeah, just another day. But you were running for post commissioner or
Public Service Commission.
Public Service Commissioner.
Yes.
Let's talk about what are some of the things that are getting ready to come up on the Public Service Commission board that you feel like the community needs to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me today. And the Public Service Commission regulates Georgia Power electricity, gas, and any regulated phone utility, so landline phones. So the Public Service Commission decides where we get our energy and how much we pay for our utilities. So I just always like to level set with like what actually the Public Service Commission does. And our Public Service Commission has 5 commissioners. There are 5 Public Service Commission districts across the state, and there is 1 commissioner from each district. They serve 6-year terms, so strong terms, and we elect 2 commissioners every 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So there will be 2 seats on the ballot. There are 2 seats on the ballot this year, and you reside in the district that you run to represent. So that's why folks will see 2 seats on the ballot, which is different from other commissions like labor or insurance where there's 1 person. So just a little background about that. And why does this matter? Well, utilities and energy. I mean, our utility bills or the light bill, whatever we want to call it, take up a lot of our household income. Our households, our incomes, and our future are all tied to our energy choices. And it's important that people, it's like, oh man, why is my light bill so high? Or, oh my gosh, as we've seen over the last few months, gas prices spike like 30-ish, plus percent. Oh my gosh, let me call the utility. It's like, yes, you should definitely call the utility, but in Georgia, there are 5 people who get to make the decision about how much our rates are. And so one of the major things that is coming up this year is that process will be in front of the Public Service Commission, and we refer to that as the rate case. So what is happening, and this happens every 3 years in Georgia, and every 3 years, what's called the Integrated Resource Plan is a plan that Georgia Power puts forward for how it's going to get its electricity and produce electricity and service its 2.6 million customers in the state. But that plan has to go in front of the Public Service Commission. So the last 6 months, the Public Service Commission staff, there's a staff of about 80 folks or 70 folks that work at the Public Service Commission, and all kinds of advocates, which I am one, and have been partners with many who have been going through in front of the commission. There's hearings happening right now this week, which will be the last round of hearings, where there's a lot of sort of negotiating back and forth. Okay, well, we know advocates want cleaner energy. Our communities and residents want cleaner energy. They want better access to that energy, so it's not just benefiting the utility, but our communities. So all that will happen now. There'll be a final decision that will come down from the commission, probably in the next few weeks. And then at the end of July or August, the utility will come back and say, okay, well, here's how we need to pay for all of that. And here's how much money we need from customers. Here's how much money we need from our residential customers, or, they break it down, into all these different classes. So this is a critical opportunity for people from communities who have ever been, why is my bill so high? Who do I talk to? Call them their utility. This is a critical time for people to come up, and not sure if they're going to let us show up at the commission this time, which we have done before, but making phone calls, taking emails. There's a whole grassroots effort group of activists and organizers bringing people together, because for too long the commission has made decision after decision that increases our bills, harms our health. I mean, there are poisoning groundwater with coal ash, which is a byproduct of burning coal. And all of these things, all of these decisions happen at the Public Service Commission. And it's the most important office people have never heard of, is what,
Right.
is what we like to say.
That's interesting. So I didn't even know that. So in front of the Public Service Commission, I'm going to assume that not only Georgia Power reports, but also like Greystone, every single company that produces electricity or gas,
Right.
instead of Georgia has to report.
Only the Public Service Commission only regulates investor-owned utilities.
Okay.
So those who report to shareholders. So Georgia Power and Atlanta Gas Light, and any of those regulated phone utilities. Greystone,
It's a membership.
it's an electric membership cooperative, of which we have 41 in Georgia. So those are nonprofit utilities. So people who get their electricity from electric membership cooperatives are actually member owners. We don't call them ratepayers because it's a cooperative. So if you are paying a bill to an electric membership cooperative, you're actually a part owner of that utility. So one of the things,
So that's why I get a little check back.
yes.
Okay.
So they're able to patronage capital, I think is returned. They have the ability to return some of their earnings every year to the member owners, versus with an investor-owned utility like Georgia Power, they're trying to make as much money for their shareholders as possible. So, and electric membership cooperatives, a lot of people don't know they're member owners. We're just used to paying the bill and we're not really looking at. But one of the other big activities around, we'll say, energy justice, energy equity, the work that we do, activism around getting people involved in energy planning and decision making. If you're a member of an electric membership cooperative, you can run for the board of that electric membership cooperative. And a lot of people don't know that. There's annual meetings that happen either once a year. And some EMCs aren't really living up to the 7 cooperative principles, which, EMCs and other cooperatives are governed by. So a lot of people don't know when the annual meeting is, or they get a bill insert and they're throwing that piece of paper away where they're asking for votes on that board. So that's a lot of work. Some organizers that I've worked with for a long time have been doing work in Cobb EMC, and getting community members who have come together, and they sort of call themselves the Cobb Equity Forum, to run for seats on that board, because we know the more representation we have in decision making, the better those outcomes will be for the communities who are burdened by poor energy choices, rising bills, environmental injustice.
So
those
really,
things
the
on.
Public Service Commission impacts the lives of over 3 million people a year, and we don't even recognize it.
We don't even recognize it. And those electric membership cooperatives, so Georgia has about just about 100 electricity. So we have Georgia Power, Georgia Natural Gas, those 41 electric membership cooperatives, and then we also have about 50 municipal utilities.
Mm-hmm.
So City of East Point, City of
Marietta.
LaGrange,
Mhm.
Marietta, these places. Where, or Fort Valley, Georgia, which is one of the places that elects its utility commission, right? Or they, kind of half and half. So that's another opportunity for us to be involved in trying to take some of those seats back, for that decision making. And sometimes EMCs and the munis, they do have to come in front of the commission for like territorial disputes and things. Or disputes are just issues. So they have to work with the commission on things like, how do we better expand broadband, or plant Vogel? So that is a Georgia Power project, but the electric membership cooperatives and the municipal utilities, MEAG and Oglethorpe, are bought into that project. So that will, even though that's a Georgia Power project, that will still impact the rates of some electric membership cooperatives and municipal utilities, because they're part owners of that project that is almost 8 years behind schedule and $15 billion over budget.
Wow.
That project is topping out around $30-ish billion, and they just keep going. And the Public Service Commission has sole authority, and we've all been paying for that. Over a decade, we've been paying in advance for this project that we haven't gotten any electricity from. Every year, the can keeps getting kicked down the road, and you can be sure, we even have a commissioner on record saying earlier this year, well, our rates are going to go up this year and there's really nothing we can do about it. And I was like, oh, really? Because that is exactly your job.
Right.
Wow. So
Wow.
the Public Service Commission will have the sole authority to say to Georgia Power when they ask for that money, well, you need to shoulder more of that burden, Georgia Power, the company, and the other project owners. We can't continue to put more of that burden on the ratepayers who are already overburdened by these costs.
So let me ask you a question. Does the Public Service Commission, do they also, can they also regulate what kind of, like how we're producing power? If whether it's solar, whether it's nuclear, do they also have the same right as well?
Yeah, absolutely. All of those energy decisions are what's in that integrated resource plan that we're talking about. So the utility makes the plan. We're going to get this much from solar, we're going to get this much from hydro, we're going to get this much from gas, we're going to get this much from nuclear. So everything in that plan comes before the commission, and the commission puts the final approval on that plan. So what we have seen, you mentioned solar. Well, Georgia's become a top 10 state for solar because of a motion that commissioners made to direct the utility to increase their the amount of solar they were putting onto the grid. But what this solar is utility scale solar. So those are the big solar farms. You're driving around South Georgia, you can see them across the interstate. And that's great because that is, supporting some of the tax bases of these, rural communities. And it's reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. The more, solar we have, that's helping us reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, which helps us mitigate climate change or take action on climate change, which disproportionately harms Black people, communities of color, poor communities. So that is good. But the promise of solar is also bill affordability. So all of that utility scale solar is benefiting the utilities, and so the big companies who come to Georgia, right. Facebook, Purina, all these companies, we're coming to Georgia, but we want renewable. We need to be able to buy renewable energy. So then, the utility is able to sell that to them. But you and I can't buy into that.
Right.
Right. That's not reducing our bills. And so what we need is more of what we call distributed clean energy.
So let me ask, since we're talking about solar, is it more expensive for homeowners to be able to do for themselves and be able to offset the cost of electricity? Has it become more expensive? Because when I first moved here from California, I noticed that, it's the South. There's a lot of sun. There's a lot of heat. You should be able to get solar.
We should, yeah.
But it's not a big deal. And I guess maybe I don't know how much the Public Service Commission has a role to play in when it comes to allowing homeowners to purchase or have solar in their homes and it offset, or if that's something that the big boys are no, we don't want it, so we'll do whatever we have to do to keep the average Joe from being able to obtain solar for their homes.
Definitely the latter. So the Public Service Commission right now is actively blocking the expansion of rooftop solar in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
So from California, there's been a lot of fights around the country of these same fights. So a lot of groups, they run the same play in different states. So net metering has been a big, heard about the California case recently. It's a big case in Florida recently. And what that means is it's net, right? So Georgia Power is going to charge you 13 cents a kilowatt hour. They're only going to give you back maybe 2 or 3 cents a kilowatt hour if you've got solar and you're pushing that back to their grid. What we want, what we should have is that if you got to pay Georgia Power 11 or 12 cents, then they should be giving you 11 or 12 cents.
Absolutely.
Right, so we call that, loose way of describing net metering. So what we have here in Georgia is something called monthly netting, which is essentially what we're talking about. But the commission put a cap arbitrarily of 5,000 homes on that. It became quickly oversubscribed. People are still waiting. And so that ability to scrap the cap is what advocates and that have created a campaign called Scrap the Solar Cap. That is a case that will be a part of this upcoming rate case that is happening in the late summer and fall.
So realistically, if the Public Service Commission did, let's say, approve for people to be able to put solar panels on their home, it would kill pretty much the electric industry as far as Georgia Power is concerned, because there would be no need, would it?
It won't kill it. So, I mean, our utilities, they still own the grid.
Right.
You know, the thing that all the power has to run off of, right? All the transmission lines you see and they own all of that. Street lights, they lease those to cities. You know, I mean, so this is the thing about it for me. I mean, of course, it's going to impact their revenue, but I see it as more of a shift. I mean, these are billion-dollar utilities who have been planning for years how to slow the growth of certain markets that benefit customers until they figure out how they can make the most money from it. Right? I mean, this is what is happening. So I don't want to say it's going to kill the utility, but we are in a time of energy transformation. The energy system is changing. We want more, instead of the old utility business model, which we are experiencing here in Georgia, is to build and charge. Right? They make their money off of building things. This is what we're seeing with Plant Vogtle, instead of investing in renewable energy that is community sited or neighborhood sited, where we could have smaller microgrids, where we could have solar that we could buy into. So I decided to our communities. So the shift is happening. It's happening in other places. This train is moving, and it is leaving our communities behind.
You know, and the reason why I asked that, because my uncle, I remember going to Maryland one year, and he did not pay for water through the county in which he stayed in. He had a well in his backyard, and he had bought a pump, and that pump would pull water from the well, and he had like a huge house, but that's what funded the water for his whole home. And it's interesting how when we talk about that, we think about companies like Comcast. Like in my neighborhood, the only cable I have the option of having if it's not satellite is Comcast. There's no Spectrum. And I think that we have to create a market where we can kind of compete a little bit better, because that's what really helps the consumer. When Georgia Power, per se, controls the whole grid, monopoly, right?
Yeah.
We have to break up monopolies because of the fact that as a consumer, it doesn't benefit me for Georgia Power to be the only light company in my community, or Scanner to be the only gas company that I can get gas through, because of the fact that there's no competition there. And it's funny how the same people who argue for competition in like the health market, they don't want to put competition in places like the energy market or in places like the gas market. Why?
Why would you want to change? Why would you want to change your cash cow?
Right.
I mean, it's corporate.
Donors, probably big donors are theirs too.
Greed, right? I mean, you make as much money as possible, and utilities are granted these monopolies to provide an essential service, right? So in Georgia, we have the Territorial Act, which is why we can't choose who we get our electricity from. It's based on where we live in these various territories. So that's why electric membership cooperatives and municipal utilities sometimes do have business in front of the commission, because it's cross-territorial, right? Speaking of broadband, like with the poles issue, you know, like, okay, well, how do we work together on making sure that folks coming in offering cable have the access they need to all these different poles going across the state? So they will come together and work together on issues like that. But you're right. I mean, utilities are granted these monopolies, and then that locks us, the customers, into having no choice. And what we are seeing now when we talk about energy justice, I mean, you know, we can stick any word in front of justice now, right? Because really everything is a social justice issue. I mean, Black communities and communities of color, you know, our rural communities, and you know, our indigenous communities have been extracted from, right? I mean, we were the energy, right? I mean, quite literally, our bodies were what produced energy, you know, for this nation. And so when we look at the history of that, and we look at which communities have higher utility bills, because, you know, with disinvestment, redlining, health outcomes are lower. It's literally hotter in our communities than it is in others because of where our communities have been situated, the way they pulled down trees so police could see better. I mean, all of these things are connected. And so when we talk about energy justice, when we talk about environmental justice, we are talking about not only doing better for the future, but recognizing why things are the way they are and making sure, okay, when we're investing in a new program or creating a new program, we've got some things we've got to fix over here and that we have to address and that we have to come to terms with that it was racist federal policy like redlining that created certain conditions or whatever other thing it is before we can move forward. Otherwise, we think, oh, well, we're doing this good thing, but clean energy isn't just going to be good on it for everybody on its own. So that's why it's so important that we are informing our communities about how important these commissions are. From the Public Service Commission, that covers statewide, to the electric membership cooperatives, because the more we get involved and the more we keep raising our voices, the more they understand that people are paying attention because they've been able to operate in obscurity for so long, just kind of doing whatever they want. And now, we're seeing the results of that. Georgia pays some of the highest energy bills in the nation.
Now, is that now the same, what you're talking about when it comes to solar, that can also be applied for wind power as well? Is that, or is Georgia one of the states that, like, they just don't want it in the state at all?
So, I'm not the expert on wind, but there is some opportunity off the coast of Georgia, and I have heard this conversation restarting. Senator Ossoff actually convened a conversation with some coastal environmental justice leaders a few months ago around what are these possibilities. So that conversation is coming up again. So for Georgia, it would be, probably, off the coast, but, we're going to be going out into our oceans. I mean, these are places where our whales, come from. I mean, there's so many things to be, it's complicated.
Well, it gets pretty windy out here in Georgia. Which, one of the things I first noticed when I first moved out here, I was like, why aren't there any, you have all this open land and there's no one's taking advantage of the solar, no one's taking advantage of all the wind power that's available, and you got a lot of open land that, if you put a couple of windmills out there or turbines out there, you can actually generate a lot of, and you have people who have acres of property that they don't even take advantage of it for their own selves, just for their own house. And much less the community. The law here
in Georgia.
Okay.
That would be against the law here.
Okay.
You still have to plug into the grid, which Georgia Power owns.
Right, and you're breaking the law if you erect a wind turbine for your own personal use.
Yeah.
Along with solar.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? I mean, what's next?
I mean, the work continues, right? I mean, this is a big year for Georgia and
right.
our energy decisions here. So, there's hearings right now. It's just reading some updates from what is happening down at the commission right now. We had a few cities this year, like formally get into that process. So cities like Atlanta and Savannah, who have created resolutions or commitments to transition to 100% clean energy, being active in this process for the first time, which is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the results, are going to be, and what some of these final plans look like in the integrated resource plan. So looking for those decisions. You can follow me at Chandra Farley on Twitter. I'll be getting back to less of my campaign Twitter and more of my work. And then we got to start gearing up for these rate cases. The rate case that's going to kick off here in July. And the most important thing is that they hear from the people. They hear from people who are struggling with their bills. They hear from people who want to go solar and still can't afford it because the price has come down a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
But there's got to be that incentive there for the people to be able to make money. As you're sending, this helping Georgia, right? So those are the few things. Those are the things coming up. I'd say priority number one is getting familiar, looking at your utility bill, asking questions. Why is that NCCR fee on my bill? That's the Nuclear Cost Construction Recovery Fee that is going to Plant Vogtle that any Georgia Power customer has been seeing on their bill for the last 10 years. So all of these things, I think, we look at that amount, and it comes in, if you're even looking at it. Some people are, you got it on auto pay and it's on there, and, I wouldn't be looking at my bill, if I wasn't doing the work, that's one of the reasons I really started to pay attention and just start asking questions. And something else I think is really important is there's a lot of shame around not being able to pay your bill. And I think for a long time, such and such can't pay their light bill, or, and just, in different environments, the number one reason people come to church is for help help with their utility bills, and this is extracting money from our communities. It's extracting money from our households. 1 in 3 people every single month are making a trade-off, an impossible trade. Do I pay the light bill, or can I buy groceries? Can I put gas in the car to make it to work this week, or can I pay? Seniors are splitting pills because, they can't afford their whole prescription and the light bills. It does not have to be this way. And we know that there are strategies to help us with bill affordability. We know that there are strategies that can help us advance more rapidly towards clean energy and things like solar that can benefit our communities, not just with bill affordability, but bill stabilization. So we don't get these bills that jump 30%, because we're dependent on gas or, fossil gas and these things. But all of that starts with jumping in and asking questions and getting informed. And there's going to be a huge opportunity to do that getting started here over the next couple of months, to stand up and speak out at the Public Service Commission.
I have to say this, kudos to you for the work you're doing, because I think that a lot of us, and especially the communities that are impacted the most by it, are not aware of what the Public Service Commission. I will be honest to say I was ignorant until today, and having this discussion with you. But I think it's something that we need to continue to have a discussion about, and also continue to put out information about, so people are aware of what's getting ready to happen, because gas prices are already high enough, and I'm one of those people you talked about who just pay the bill. And now when I go home, I'm trying to think, I'm going through every one of my I don't have Georgia Power, I have Greystone, but I'm going through every one of those bills and seeing what I'm paying for.
Yeah.
Because I think that's extremely important, and I will pray that you continue the work until the next go around. But thank you for the work. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
And thank you for being willing to educate people. And I would love to have you back on to talk more in detail about some of these things, and to kind of follow up on what is getting ready to happen at the commission, and let people know also too how they can be a part of these commission meetings, because I think that it's important that we not only use our voice at the ballot, but we use our voice when they have open meetings like this, to make sure that we make our opinions known. So thank you so much for coming on. And a true soldier, real. I was talking to the team, I was like, I don't know if she's going to come in or not, and you still showed up today, so kudos to you, and that just means that you're passionate about what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely stay in communication. For all those who are watching, please check her out. She said you can find her on
at Chandra Farley on Twitter and Facebook. And then I think it's still important that people go check out your website and know what you stood for, because I think some of those issues that you stand for are going to become a reality to people right now. Yeah. ChandraForGeorgia.com is a place. There's we've got a what is the PSC 101 page on the website, so that will stay up. So that's a great place to go. 3 facts on the PSC, and then 4 quick points about why this matters with some links to it. So there's some great information there. We definitely want to keep that up. And we'll definitely love to stay in touch as I get looped back in sort of the advocacy efforts around what is happening. There's a candlelight, vigil happening. There's all kinds of things that will start to happen with these actions around the PSC. So I'll definitely make sure I keep y'all up to date so we can get that information out to the people.
No, thank you so much, and thank you guys for your time. Thank you, Ali, too, over there hiding in the corner for this today. But we also want to remind people that we have a few events coming up. We'll be in Macon on June 26th. Am I right? 25th. So I'm always wrong with my dates. For a One Accord conference that will be hosted at, what's the name of the church?
New Fellowship Missionary Baptist.
New Fellowship Missionary Baptist. So if you have not, go to our website, go to our Facebook page, and there's more information about that. And then we turn around on July 16th, and we'll be hosting our Night of Service Gala at Omni, where we'll be honoring Ambassador Young, Zanona Clayton, Helen Butler, Shannon Jones, Sandra Lee Williams. I feel like I'm missing a lot of people.
McDonald.
Reverend, oh my God, Reverend McDonald.
Brown.
Miss Butler, Helen Butler, and Latasha Brown.
Right.
So we have a whole bunch of people we're honoring on July 16th. We'll be at the Omni. Tickets will start going on sale next week for that. So come out and join us and stay attached. And please, for those who have not, for those who don't know, we do have another election going on. So we are not done with the election season. We have a runoff, and I think the runoff is June 21st.
The runoff is June 21st, and early voting will start, I think, June 13.
So we need everybody who went out to vote to get back out and vote. It's not enough just to vote in November. We have to continue to make sure our voice is heard. And please go check out Mrs. Farley's website. Learn more about what the Public Service Commission does in your neighborhood, and know how it affects you. And educate people around you. So not
Tell
only do
10
you
people.
One person tells 10, and we'll get it done. But until tomorrow, you guys, stay blessed, and we'll see you again tomorrow.